gentlemen, once again, we're here for our council meeting. If you'll take your seat or find a seat, we'll start the presentation. We're here Wednesday, October 17th, 2012 at 6:20 in the evening here at 790 Homestead Boulevard, Homestead, Florida 33030. At this time, we're going to have the invocation will be given by Dr. Ted Greer, Pledge Allegiance by Police Explorers, and led by Councilman Wallman. Please rise.
Father God, we thank you for this great day in which you have made. We thank you for your servants in this building, this council, the mayor and council. We pray that you'll give them wisdom and guidance as they proceed in deliberations here tonight. We seek to do your business, Father, because people are your business. And so, Father, we thank you for those in the audience who have come and care about this community. We pray that we all will be peaceful in our deliberations today. We pray that you will get the glory as a result. This rest in your precious name we pray. Amen.
Please join me as we say the Pledge of Allegiance to our great nation. The Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, march. Face. Forward, march.
Please be seated. Thank you, Dr. Greer. Thank you, Police Explorers. Madam Clerk, call roll.
Councilwoman Faircloth McCormick.
Here.
Councilman Maldonado.
Here.
Councilman Shelley. Councilwoman Wallman.
Here.
Councilman Williams.
Here.
Vice Mayor Burgess.
Here.
Mayor Bateman.
Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. First item on the agenda tonight is public comment. Yes, sir. Well, great to see you again.
Thank you for that. Why, you didn't expect to see me? Kevin Sullivan, 1860 Southeast 6th Court. Thank you for the comment on pink. My first comment tonight is directed to the city manager. Please don't be offended. Your presentation you gave here 2 weeks ago was absolutely the most outstanding presentation I have ever seen. Thorough, just to the point. I've been coming to City Hall for a long time. I might not be coming too much longer unless we get out of here because of the health issues. But I just have to say, in all those years, I don't think I've ever seen a presentation that well put together. And I thank you for your skill and your integrity. Okay, moving on. A little bit of history on City Hall. Some people know it, some people don't. Because I didn't have TV, I came to a lot of meetings. So, in June, Kurt Ivey gave a presentation to the City Council about this City Hall and rebuilding a new one on the same site. In June 2003, Mayor Warren, in his State of City address, said, and I quote, "A new City Hall is needed." 2003. Mayor Warren and the council appointed Councilman Rosner to look into it, form the committee. And in the interim, he held a lot of meetings. He actually went on to be elected and become vice mayor. He then gave an update in 2006 of the selection and the design. There were so many meetings that he held, I didn't come to them all. It was just too many. But everybody had an input. Everybody had an input. They decided, they selected an architect, then they had meetings with the architect, what was needed. A lot of meetings. They finally went out for an RFP. 22 companies, I understand, bid on the process. I don't know how many of them were good bids, but there was 22 of them. All set, ready to go. November 2009, we get a new council. They go, whoa, whoa, let's hold up on that.
Whoa, Nellie Bell.
Let's hold up. And that's not a bad idea. Let's reflect, see what's going on, see why we need a new city hall, and I'm sure that everybody up there has the intelligence to figure out in 30 days that this building was doomed. They then, because a lot of citizens were upset, they formed a committee to look into whether we needed a new city hall. And I never saw the report. I understand there was meetings held by this committee, but under the freedom of information, there's nothing there that I can find. In August of 2010, the city manager at the time, Coronas, was notified all the bidders that the project is canceled. That's a key. August 2010. Now, had the committee released their report before that? Was it after that? I don't know. I've never seen the report. I've heard that they had a report. I've asked several council people. They said they never saw the report, so I'm not sure. Okay, now, we're at the end of 2012, and we're going to move forward. The council finally decided to take the plans that were in place that we spent over $1 million of our money to get and put it out to bid. But if you read or listened to my timeline, we wouldn't even be here. We would have already been in the new building. These health issues for these employees over these years would have gone away, and we would not now be spending several $100,000 to rent space while this new building goes up. Okay. Where does the blame lay? One thing I know it doesn't lay is at Patricia Faircloth McCormick's, because she wasn't even here when this stuff went on. But I do know when the council decided the last meeting to go ahead and put out an RFP, she was adamant that the building would take place in the designated spot that we've already purchased. So, I absolutely am going to look at you all and say, everybody but Faircloth McCormick should hang your head in shame. Hang your head in shame for allowing this to go on for this length of time. And thank you. I got one more thing to say. We're looking at plans. We have a first-class police chief here. We have absolutely outstanding police force, and we're keeping them in a converted bank building. Let's get them a new building, too.
You don't get to speak next week because you just spoke 6 minutes.
I know that, but I sat here for 42 minutes last meeting over an alleyway. 42 minutes.
What I'll say really, there's two sides always to every story. And when you make a decision in the worst economy in our lifetime to not spend $30 million, and an architect who sits here the other night in that beautiful presentation and said we would have been fools to spend that money in 2009. So I think we did a yeoman's job. So I won't pass that buck to any one of my council members that are here, because you all did a great job. And we're smarter and better people today because we got $28 million in the bank and not a $30 million building sitting over there that we would have struggled through for those 3 years. The economy is turning around. Things are looking better. Building is picking up. Smart time to start moving forward. You're going to build it at the right price. But 2009 was not the right time. Simple as that. two sides to every story. There are people just like the gentleman who speak just as passionate about saying, you're going to do what with my tax money? And I hear it every day. Before we move on to other people, could we actually hear from the Boy Scout troop that's here before we belabor, and they may not have to stay very much longer, but would you come up, Scoutmaster, please, and just, state your troop real quick? Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Mayor and Council. We're Troop 443. We're from the LDS Church on 167th Avenue and Avocado. These young men here are working on their merit badge citizenship in the community. And I'd like them to stand. I'll just very quickly stand. I've got Isaac, starting with Isaac, just over at the end. We have Julian, Dave, Jonathan, Benji, Tyler, Connor, and Francisco. And Francisco, he's up for his Eagle Scout Award, hopefully before June of next year. He'll be doing a project at the Chapman Partnership Homeless Center that we have here in Homestead. They have a need to do some landscaping beautification project, a butterfly garden for the preschoolers that live there, that they've asked for a butterfly garden, and also to repair a chickie hut that needs to be rethatched. So that's our troop right here.
Good job, man. Thank you, sir. Ms. Garza.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, distinguished members of the audience. Great for democracy. I admire every one of you and the citizens as well that come before this podium to express exactly how we feel. Like it or not, it is what it is. And I totally respect what you do, because it takes special people to really decide that you want to be leaders in a community and to represent us whichever way, whatever your decisions are, but I commend you. And that's the reason why I'm here this evening, because there's another young man that I'd like to introduce to you and to the audience that so desires to, in spite of the difficult times, in spite of how people feel about the times in our nation today, that it is important that somebody takes leadership and say, I can make a difference. I am willing to do something about what I see and I don't like, and I am willing to sacrifice my life. So for that reason, I am here this evening, and that is to express my support for a candidate for State House Representative, Ian Whitney. Some of you have already met. Mrs. Wallman has supported him, and all of you, and I really thank you for that. But if I can ask Ian to come forward and say a few words. I'm not going to use more than 1 minute.
He's going to get his 3 minutes.
I'm not giving him my time. But I think it's important that the people that are committed to do the right thing for our community, and Ian, you have my full support and the support of my family as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, I have had the opportunity to meet with most of you one-on-one. I'll be very brief. I'll try to keep this to 2 minutes. You know, Florida is about to become the third largest state in the country, and our district's as far away from Tallahassee as you can get, but we see how the decisions made there impact us every day. And we need a legislature that actually makes having the best school system in the country its top priority. We need a legislature that actually wants to invest in infrastructure. We need a legislature that understands small businesses and what we need to do for economic development. And I just wanted to commit one thing to you all here today and to the people of Homestead. Like, I live down in Key West. It's quite a trip. I've done it 48 times now in the past 3.5 months. And I think a lot of candidates run for office and they show up around election time and then the election's over and they just disappear. But one thing that I wanted to commit to all of you is that the day after the election, that I will work with you and your elected officials every single day to get money for the projects that you need here in Homestead, and that I'm committed to working with you all as a partner, and I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Evening, sir.
My name is Chuck Schumacher, and I live at 1972 Southeast 21st Court. And for the past few months, I've been involved with city and police officials on the issue of the high violent crime rate within the city of Homestead. I'm here tonight to thank Mayor Bateman City Manager Gretzis, Chief Roll, Captain Kent, Captain Ray, and City Council members and many others that have worked with me for their support and help on this important issue. What did we accomplish? Well, first, we agreed on the size of the problem. During 2011, Homestead had 967 violent crimes, 4 murders, 18 rapes, 299 robberies, and 646 aggravated assaults. For 2011, the violent crime rate in Homestead is 4 times the national average, 3 times the Florida average, and 2 times the Miami-Dade County average. Next, we looked at the size of our police force. Homestead has 1.7 officers per 1,000 population. The state of Florida has a ratio of 2.5 officers per 1,000 population. Homestead has the 17th highest crime rate and the 16th lowest ratio of police officers in the state of Florida out of nearly 300 reporting cities. And finally, we looked at the budget. Unfortunately, there is no money available to expand our police force. Therefore, it appears that the Homestead residents must live with this high violent crime rate until economic conditions improve. I was assured by City Manager Gretzis and Chief Roll that expanding the police force to lower the crime rate would be their #1 priority when economic conditions do improve. I hope Mayor Bateman and the City Council members will also have that as their #1 priority when economic conditions do improve. Thank you all once again for your support on this issue. I look forward to the improvement in economic conditions that will allow our police force to be expanded and our high violent crime rate to be lowered.
Thank you, Mr. Schumacher.
Mr. Mayor, council members, and all leaders in your respective places, I stand before you today. Oftentimes we always want to voice a bad report about our police department, but I want to come, and I thought it would be not robbery to stand before everyone today to show what can happen when the church, community, and law enforcement works together. We had a community forum at our church about a couple months ago, and Bryce Barker, Sergeant Bryce Barker, and Chief Roll was in attendance. People from our community, they voiced their concerns of what the activity that was going on around the Southwest area, and I'm here to tell you that that activity that they complained about has been cleaned up, and we thank God for the work that this great police force has been doing in the Southwest community. So,
Pastor, thank you for that. Thank you for those words. For the record, because I know you personally, but would you state your name and address for the record?
Norman Freeman, 344 Southwest 4th Avenue.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. And also, as you know, every October 31st, we found as a crime prevention for our young people on Halloween, we wanted to be proactive in keeping kids off the street, because we found that a lot of kids were getting in trouble, and we started what we call 10 years ago Hallelujah Night, which the city has been, Florida City and Homestead, you have been great supporters of that, and we are still asking for your support this year. It's October 31st at from 6 to 8:30. So we're asking for your support on that also.
Hey, Mayor.
You'll have mine. Yes, sir.
I think in there asking of support, the use of the park, Roby George Park, as we've done in the past with the same, with the Ministry of Alliance, is that we've waived the fees because it was a community event. And so I think that's what you all are asking.
Yes.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I move that we waive the fees for this.
We just need to do this right. Just we need to first, someone needs to make a motion to add this item to the agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
I move that we add the item to the agenda.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Item carries.
And then Councilman Williams' motion is in order.
Okay. I need to restate my motion, please. I move that we waive the fees for Ruby George Park for Hallelujah Night on October 31st.
Second.
And a second by Patricia, second by John Burgess. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes? Item carries. Thank you, sir. And
Thank you.
I'd be more than happy to make a contribution as well. I did last year and I will this year.
We thank you.
Financial. Thank you, sir.
Bless you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Michelle Pedersen, and I live at 29430 Southwest 172 Avenue. I'm also a business owner. My property that I own is at 406 Washington Avenue. I just have 3 quick points. I wanted to thank the council, the members that were present during that special meeting, recognizing that you have a moral obligation and you acted regarding the toxic situation at the City Hall and deciding finally to do something about it. And I was very impressed with the actions that you took that night. Second, I wanted to thank you, City Manager, for taking the initiative to listen and also acting on this issue. You gave a wonderful presentation. It was so thorough, and your leadership was vital that night. I also appreciate your diligence in the work that you do daily for the city and to make it efficient and productive. And then last, at the last council meeting, it was discussing whether to use the existing plans, which you all had invested in, the city had invested in, or look at new plans. And I know, Mr. Mayor, you had referenced a few business owners and how we would benefit from the new City Hall in the downtown area in Washington. I wanted to talk about that because for the past 3 years, we have suffered a lot. If you look downtown, you see empty buildings, you see for sale signs, you see people giving up, small business owners. I employ 12 people at my store. I took a cut the past 3 years just to keep the people I have. I know with the economic changes that are occurring, it is the right time, and I want to encourage you guys. And I know you're making the right steps now to move forward with the building of the City Hall. I really believe in all my heart it's going to give the professional makeover we desperately need. And I know there is activity. It has to do with the colleges, and it's great to see the kids going to school. But college students are poor, at least I was, and they don't have the money to spend. And I just have this hope now that finally, I look at where my daughter goes to college, they have a brand new City Hall, they have a beautiful public library, they have 2 colleges in her vicinity, and people walk, they ride their bikes, they come like they would Miracle Mile. You have upscale eateries and businesses investing in that town, and I just look forward to that day, finally look forward to it, and seeing a turnaround for the downtown area. So I just want to encourage you guys to move forward, and you have my support whatever I can do as a business owner. Thank you.
Thank you. And to all citizens, the ones in the audience and the ones that are watching on TV tonight, this council has many, many responsibilities. As you heard the gentleman before this lady spoke, and poked out at the police department and talked about our crime rate and how large our crime rate is and how short we are on police officers. So we sit up here and go, new City Hall, more police officers. New City Hall, more police officers. We have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers of this community to keep a sound and solid budget. This is the first time since 1995 when I came on this council that we have been as solid as we are right now. $28 million in the bank, and it's a great feeling. Because in 95, do you remember Ruth Campbell? We were bankrupt, and we had to beg Governor Bush at the time with a letter, please stand behind us. Please stand behind us for another 90 days. We'll get a workout plan going. And then again after that, when Merritt Stearhan came down, we were $8 million in the hole. We couldn't go to our revenue-producing departments because they were tapped out. So I know what it's like to be broke and sit on the city council. 10 million one time, 8 million another. And it feels dang good to have $28 million in the bank. So there are two sides to every story. Simple as that.
Well, hopefully I can add to the flavor. My name is Mike Frank. I'm president of a company called Cows, Container on Wheels Mobile Storage. Reason I'm here is I'd like to thank both the mayor and the council for allowing me to come speak tonight. We're a company that has been based in the heart of Miami-Dade County for probably the better part of 12 years now, and we're looking for a new home. We have been embraced by folks here in Homestead as part of our search. There are a couple folks I just wanted to point out. Rick, Gemma, Michelle have all have really treated us very warmly and have really opened up resources available to us to show us Homestead, to make us feel comfortable here, and most importantly, to make us feel welcome as we consider where we ultimately are going to set up our new home. Just to provide some, hopefully, optimism, where we locate, we're ultimately looking to, in the first couple of years, bringing on 70 new manufacturing jobs. We're looking to bring on a couple of dozen white-collar jobs, and Homestead is very, very high on our consideration list. And so I'd like to thank those individuals that have welcomed us, that have helped us, and ultimately I'd look forward to working with you all to see if there's an opportunity to create a win-win situation for all of us, hopefully in the very near future.
Well, thank you, sir. It was a pleasure to talk with you tonight. It sounds wonderful, and you've got my support 100%. And if they quit making you happy, don't remember where my door is at, all right?
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Mayor, George, Mayor, before you go on to Mr. Wright, to the gentleman who just spoke, I want to say thank you for looking at Homestead. I'll wait till he finishes talking. I want to tell the gentleman that just left the podium, want to thank him for looking at Homestead, but not only that, but they're looking to bring their manufacturing to the Southwest area, which will indeed help the community become more valuable with those jobs that they're looking to do. So whatever I can do to ensure that your process is seamless and that that it goes without any problems, you let me know, because I'm very interested in your product and what you can offer to the city of Homestead, but not only that, but to the Southwest area. So I thank you all for looking at Homestead in that way. And you all going to be relocating from where?
We're only around now, right by the airport.
Okay. Okay, good. All right.
Clerk of Commerce.
Before we start, I need to hand y'all some pictures.
Okay. You do your best to stay to 3, right?
I am.
Okay. You're the guy you used as an example tonight. See this, right? See danger?
Go. My name's George Wright. Everybody up there knows me well. We had a meeting this past month that we tried to resolve some situations of what my problem was. I felt railroaded, but that's just my opinion. That we did come up with some solutions, and there were some things that came out. I told them when I left that I had a wife that I had to talk to about what we agreed with, and I went and talked about her. And we agreed to some of the solutions that we're going to move the loading of the trucks and stuff outside of the alleyway onto the side of the building, onto the roadway. One of the conversations was taking down the one-way signs and moving the one-way signs. And me and the city manager got in a heated discussion about it because I feel it's very unsafe. You know, you got a 24-foot wide road that traffic passes both ways. You got this roadway in the back that's only 12 foot wide, but yet they want to keep the traffic going 2 ways. Plus the design of my parking lot for my business
that the city design exits one way out that thing. So since they put the sign up, it's stopped probably 90% of the head-ons we've almost had. And it's fixed it, but they're insisting to take the one-way traffic sign down also in this thing, and I'm totally against it. Plus, it was brought up in the attention that the tank, and I researched, I paid a couple $100 or $35 in different fees to get all the paperwork on the building that we're talking about. Nobody can find where this tank was ever legal, period. It's not legal, never has been legal. It's never been, there was a variance done for, they know about variances because the variance was done on the propane done out front. It's up to y'all to make the decision whether to leave the tank. Number one, it's illegal. Number two, I just handed you some pictures of hazmat stickers stuck on it. It shows corrosive and dangerous, and it shows all these things. I'm tired of arguing about it. Whatever decisions y'all make, y'all live with. But I feel that I need to take my businesses outside of the city of Homestead. And you will see for sale signs on my lot if it keeps going this way. Right, right, and wrong, wrong. And that's my point of it. It's illegal. It's hazardous. It's got potential. Look at the signs. Do the homework. I shouldn't have to do the city's homework on it. And this is what it is. I want to keep my business going, but I can't survive like it is. And they did move it, and they did work with us on that, but I think it's foolish to make two-way traffic on a 12-foot wide road.
Thank you, George. George, listen, I spoke my piece at the last council meeting. I'll speak it again now. The pool company you're referring to cleans my pool, so I thought they were going to quit cleaning me because I spoke what I thought was the truth. And the truth is, it is illegal. You need to go to Dade County, you need to go to state of Florida, and bypass the city of Homestead. Because obviously the manager's not listening. There's no way, again, that can be called a roadway with zero side setback. And I haven't gone over there, but I say it's no more than my 10-inch foot off the road, that tank. And maybe 12 inches.
One other,
you can't have a tank off the side of the road. So I think you need to take it elsewhere because obviously we're not helping you.
Also, another thing was brought up. Another thing was brought up about the tank.
George.
Okay, I'm sorry. It was brought up about the tank that he could not replace it if anything happened to it. If you decide to keep it, the tank that's there, because it's a plastic tank, needs to be certified and stamped. I'm a farmer. I keep fertilizer in my stuff. If the life expectancy of the tank is zilch.
This whole council's heard of it. Thank you.
So I like that tank to be certified.
I think you need to go higher and deeper. Next person. Thank you, George.
Mayor, I asked...
Do you want to say something to George? Yes, sir. Sure, George. Ask me.
My preference was not to say anything, but in light of what was just said, I think I have an obligation at least to set the record.
Please, tell us.
First of all, I don't think the conversation at all was heated. Councilman Williams was chairing the meeting, and I think we had a very healthy, productive dialogue between basically two neighbors who have been in dispute for a long time. And at the meeting, it was disclosed, and we had plenty of staff there, it was disclosed that for the most part, the neighbors that are in dispute with Mr. Wright are within their rights, based on ordinances, to load and unload in that alleyway, because it's an alleyway, not a road. And yet, at the meeting, they were willing to work together because they're trying to have some harmony here. So after a lot of dialogue, there was a decision to either work together and walk out of the room with a mutual agreement, or in essence, the pool company would be able to continue to do whatever they've been doing because they're within their rights to load and unload. They made significant concessions at the meeting in terms of directing their suppliers to unload at certain times that would be least disruptive to Mr. Wright, although they don't really have to do that. And also, they make best efforts to try to have their customers who unload not obstruct as best as possible. Part of the package deal, which we're still researching whether it requires councilmatic approval or not, is to create some loading zones on the street so that both Mr. Wright and the pool company or any of the retailers there would be able to avail themselves of loading zones, so that maybe some of the activity would be reduced within the alleyway, and that hopefully would solve most of the problems. But the point I made at the meeting, which I stand by, which is that the neighbors, the pool company, really didn't have to agree to any of those items there, but were willing to do that if that would bring resolution to the issue. So what I suggested to Mr. Wright was, there really is no sense anybody agreeing to anything if you're not willing to walk out of here with a handshake that you agree with these items. So we wrote them down on a piece of paper, and after a lot of discussion, all three parties, all three people at the meeting signed the paper and agreed that the one-way signs would come down as part of the package agreement. So really, that's the crux of the issue, and we had an agreement as of them walking out of the meeting. I have a signed piece of paper by the three people there, and as far as I'm concerned, that was the conclusion of the meeting, and that's really where we stand at this point. If it's the preference not to have that agreement, then I'm sure the pool company would prefer to just continue to do business the way they've been doing, because they're within their rights to do it.
Well, I think you're answering that question based on what I said, so I'm going to make myself very clear. It has nothing to do with the loading and unloading. George, you got to get along with them. What bothers me, and what I know from my 30 years of experience, I don't know how many gallons it is. Is it 10,000 gallons? 1,200 gallons of chlorine, 12 inches off what you call a two-lane road now, cannot be legal. I asked you, Julio, to research it. It cannot be legal. There's no way. There's no judge in the land that's going to sit in the courtroom and say, you can have a 1,200-gallon tank sitting on the side of a road with no setback. There's not even 12 inches there. It's not about loading and unloading. George, you get along with your neighbor to load and unload. The tank is illegal. You can't convince me otherwise. It's illegal. So that's my point. Do anybody else have something to say before we close out?
Just a point of clarification. This is not a roadway, it's an alleyway, correct? And that's what the county has stated.
Even if it's an alleyway, you still can't do it.
Well, there may be different things.
Everything has a setback. And our
Well, there's
terms
a
know.
propane tank that sits on that alleyway also, and that would most likely have to be removed because it sits just as close. So we got to we've got more issues than just one there as to the course of action that we choose to take.
But to sit there and take none is to me, irresponsible for a city. So I say you take it somewhere else, George, to a higher court in the land. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, just one last clarification, because I want to hear directly from Julio what our law says, what our ordinances say, or what your position is as far as whether it's illegal or legal.
Speaking about the alleyway, which is, it's a public right-of-way.
Yeah, not the alleyway, because that doesn't seem to be the issue here, as far as the tank, because the tank seems to be what everyone wants to talk about. So I just want to hear from our staff what our position is.
That is a development services issue, it's not a public works issue.
Development services.
We feel that's a non-conforming use or non-conforming structure on the property, and that if it were to come down, it couldn't be rebuilt in the location that it is.
It's wrong. It's not permanent. It's not permanent, and the fence around it's not permanent.
We've been able to find permits from Durham for the tank, for the installation of the tank. They go every year and inspect it, and they're up to date with their inspections.
Look, if I would have went out there and drilled 6 holes and put a fence up, you'd have been quick to give me a violation. You'd have been very quick, because you've given me one. And nobody gave them one when they went out there and drilled 6 holes and put a brand new fence up. And don't say you didn't, because you put a brand new fence up around it. It went from a broken down piece of wooden fence to some vinyl fence now. What's happening here is you guys are massaging it, and you're making it fit whatever you want it to fit. It's illegal. Go to the county, go to the state, you'll see, George, it's illegal. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I've been standing here with an injured foot for a while, but I'm enjoying the conversation, first timer. Good evening, Mayor Bateman and council members and city manager. I'm a local resident here of Keys Gate, and
I'm very concerned with some of the issues that I've been hearing in the report, and I've been somewhat in the background listening to you all and how are we coming along with this new city hall versus the existing city hall and some of the mold and the asbestos issues that we're having to, with these reports that we're having to I missed your presentation 2 weeks ago, so I apologize for that. I had a bad injury. Anyhow, I'm also a small business. I'm a woman-owned business, and my office is in Blue Lagoon, Miami, and we're in the hub zone, believe it or not.
Hub zone.
I'll get to that in another minute, but I'm interesting because I've read the report and I hear some of the concerns from Judy Waldman and so forth, and I'm not discarding the validity of the reports, but I've also seen the indicators, and I've been involved and I've worked in asbestos and mold remediation for the federal government, for GSA, for the Fort Myers Courthouse, an existing facility, actually built in 2004 or 5, if my memory serves me right, and I've also done Key Largo right here. We did the asbestos for the existing kindergarten school that was there before the new buildings came up. And what I want to ask is, having looked at all the reports as a concerned citizen, and I know that we're going through a budget issue, and I know the money that has been spent already for this new proposed city hall is, have we considered any type of renovation or remediation work in the existing city hall? And if so, are there any reports out there? I'm very interested in seeing as to what the validity that has, because, if we all know that we don't take our first, if something's wrong with my foot and I have to have surgery, I go to another specialist. I want to hear a second or third opinion before I decide to go under the knife. So my question is, do we have another report? Is there something else for me to look at as a concerned citizen, a taxpayer citizen, that we're going to be spending this money? And because we've done this kind of work in so many facets in different areas, and we've relocated our facilities, and you have a tremendous amount of real estate here, a very nice real estate, and plenty of room to even bring out trailers and have your existing facilities as is while we do the work. So I'm putting myself out there. It's something to consider. We're definitely bonded, certified. We have a team of environmental companies that are certified by the state of Florida. And in mold remediation, we've done this. Like I said, we've done it in plenty of projects. Miami International Airport is one of them. So,
Mayor, may I?
Listen, let me ask the first question on mine. Let me ask you, as you read that report, or when you read that report, could you find anywhere in that report that by a specialist, was it signed off? Because I read that report 3 times.
No.
I find nowhere where the second opinion is a verbal.
No. This is
not even somebody who came here. Shouldn't somebody sign off and say, you're at levels and you need to get out of there? We just take somebody's word, but they won't sign a piece of paper saying, what do you do in a case like that if you've done this?
Well, I'll answer that, Mayor. We also do owner's rep, and as an owner rep, if this was a project that I would be handling, the first thing that I would do is take 2 more opinions. You have 1 report. I like to have 2 other reports. In addition to that, I like to see samples. Did we open any dry wells? Are we certain that the mold is to the degree that it is? Because your levels, although they're high, they're not extremely high, where we can be in a situation where, everybody must wear a hazmat and go. That's not what we're talking about here, at least not based on my experience. And by the way, I've been in the construction industry for over 22 years. And I've worked in existing areas, like I mentioned, the federal courthouse in Fort Myers, that we had mold remediation and asbestos remediation work. So this is done, and I'm not sure as to why we're, going ahead and deciding to go into one way without having, I like to see more reports. I like to certainly look at plan A, B, and C, and then make a determination. It just doesn't feel that way.
And what is your specialty? You're an engineer? What are you?
Yes, I'm a civil engineer.
Mayor, while you're doing that, if we could have her name and address for the record, please.
Thank you.
Name and address for the record.
Sure, Blue Network, and my name is Janet LeGrand, and we're located on 5201 Blue Lagoon Drive, Suite 900.
Thank you.
May I
Yes, go ahead,
respond?
Ms. Bowman, I'm sorry.
Because you mentioned my name, I feel that I should respond.
Sure.
As many of you know, I've been begging for a report to be done since 2005. This is a sick building. It's been a sick building. I'm sorry you weren't aware of the report that the manager gave, and maybe you should have a meeting with him. I'm not quite sure if you're here as a prospective vendor to try to remediate problems here in the City Hall, or whether you really... Are you here as a concerned citizen?
I am a concerned citizen because I am a taxpayer of this community, and I know that as a small business owner ourselves, we are going through a tough time, and a lot of people here are going through tough times.
So because you didn't see...
No, I did see the new report. I just wasn't here for the presentation.
So much was done in the presentation, and so many things were said. We've had estimates as to trying to remediate the problems. Our entire basement is full of black mold.
Yes, I've seen the pictures. I'm very aware, and I've seen the pictures. And by the way, 12 months, $2 million, we can do better than that. There's doable. I've done it. What I'm trying to say is these are facilities that everybody commutes in and out, like Miami International Airport, and it has mold, and it has asbestos, and we've done it.
Well, again, most buildings, older buildings, they do have problems.
Exactly.
But this is far beyond that. And I would suggest that you meet with the city manager, and he'll be happy, I'm sure, to share any of the reports and any of the correspondence, any of the emails that, may have come in or out. But this is very important because, because we've already taken the vote. We're moving forward. As far as my seat goes here in this dais, I'm not going backwards. I'm moving forward.
I understand.
I know this building is sick.
No,
that we need to get out.
No, and I don't disagree with you.
And I know that the proper measures were taken to evaluate trying to fix it. Not only that, I mean, people's lives are at stake here.
Yeah,
I'm not willing to take a chance with that.
But you're taking a chance right now.
I sure am.
And that's what I'm trying to point out.
No idea what a chance I'm taking.
No, I do understand, and
my chance is a lot less because I don't sit here from 8 until 6 at night. My chance is a lot less. These employees do.
I understand.
They're in here, and we have to care about them. And we have to know what they feel in their heart and their mind, what their families feel. And I'm not going to say anything more. I'm not going to argue with you. But I'm just telling you, there's a lot more to this.
No, I'm not, and I'm not going to argue either. I'm just going to say this, Judy.
Excuse me.
Sure.
We're going to be doing a wonderful thing because we're going to be going into a blighted community, and we're going to make downtown better.
But that has nothing to do with this issue. Building City Hall has nothing to do with this issue.
I'm not talking about now building City Hall. All I'm talking about is remediating what you have, the existing conditions, and perhaps you may want to look at it buying some quality time until you get all your ducks in a row and be able to build a City Hall in its due time. Paying real time rather than hurry up and finish, but you're not going to get good quality out of that. That's all I'm saying.
With the manager.
I understand. Thank you.
Mr. Burgess.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Hold on, here's a question.
Well,
Okay.
it's more of a statement. We've got $18 million in the bank that is earmarked for a City Hall project. It has been on hold since 2006. In 2009, the council said, not now. It is now the time. We have 2 reports from the manager, or two companies that were here that stated that we have problems. We have asbestos, we have radon, and we have mold. We have mold where the people cannot even go downstairs and retrieve records right now. Right. This building was outgrown. This building was built back in the 50s for 20-some thousand people. We are now a city of 60,000 people with departments spread out over the entire city. As we try to centralize and locate in one building, so we're killing 2 birds. We're getting rid of a bad health problem here that you may come in and say you can do for less money, but nobody knows until they do a thorough inspection. So I discredit that statement tonight. And I also know that the manager had a thing of $2 million. And we all know as projects start, they never end on budget, ever. I've never seen them. So we're doing 2 things. We're going to help the community by moving somewhere else. we were able to sell this property and put an outstanding complex of something that we decide upon that a developer would love to have this property. Put that money in the bank to help the city move forward with a new police station or hiring policemen for the road, as the other gentleman spoke about tonight, Mr. Schumacher. So this is a three-pronged thing here that will help the city entirely, and it will make its employees safe. So I disagree with what you're saying tonight, and that's all I want to say.
Well, I am an expert in the construction field, if you will.
6 minutes is up.
Okay, then don't be
Okay.
disrespectful. Here, I got another question for you right here, right now.
Sure.
You're missing the point here. This isn't about building a new city hall. So be it, build a new city hall. But at the same time, we have a fiduciary responsibility to our taxpayers to not pay $17 a square foot on 13,000 square feet someplace else in town. It'll cost you $500,000 by the time you move everybody out of here and then some, and by the time you move to a new place and wait 18 months for the city hall to be built. All this lady is saying is, have you thoroughly checked in to making sure that in the next 6 months you can't have this building back in the condition it needs to be in to stay in for another 12 months? That's
Right.
all you're saying.
It's a temporary solution, but it's a safety solution.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very much for coming
Thank
forward.
you.
And I say again, in that report, I don't care how eloquently our manager put it. That's not the point. Look at the report. Nowhere in that report, nowhere, professional or not, did anyone sign off. And they won't sign off. I promise you, they won't sign off. Because it's not at the levels that's chasing us out the door. And the mold and mildew that exist in those pictures still exist today. The same mold and mildews around the same toilet. The same mold and mildews on the baseboard. And if we're so worried about everybody, then why haven't we had our cleaning crew or somebody come in here and at least wipe the mold off from around the toilet, for God's sakes? Or wipe off the mold from the baseboard. For God's sake. And I'll tell you what I'll close with. In that beautiful book that he put together, I'll tell you what's so beautiful about it. It had mold on every page, had asbestos, had radon levels on it. And then you know what was in the last page? It was this thick. Beautiful book. On the last page, when you flipped it, a picture of a brand new city hall. Were we talking about fixing this building? Were we talking about really doing the right thing for the taxpayer? Or were we setting ourselves up to say, we got to get the hell out of this building because it's sinking fast and we need to build a new city hall? We will spend over $500,000 in this transaction. And I think it's wrong. I think a second opinion, a third opinion is important. It can be done while we're in the process. I'm not saying stop City Hall. Build City Hall. Build it. I don't care. I say you're wasting taxpayers' dollars right here, right now.
Mayor, I ask to be recognized.
Yes, sir.
First of all, thank you very much for your concerns and your questions. I'm more than happy to meet with you to discuss. I think we'd also be happy to provide you with the tape of the meeting if you'd like to kind of see some of the feedback, because as was mentioned tonight, there was a whole lot of issues involved with this, not just the issue of radon, the mold and the asbestos, but also at what point do you reach, does a building reach its useful life? So as we talked about, okay, well, right now we know the largest problem, the biggest problem is that as we speak, every single day city employees are in this building, they're breathing in radiation. You know, radon, for those who don't know, radon is a radioactive gas. And right now, the federal government, the United States Environmental Protection Agency says that if you breathe in too much of this gas over time, the only thing radon does to the human body is causes only one thing, causes lung cancer. And in fact, radon is the second highest cause of lung cancer, other than obviously smoking cigarettes. So what the experts can tell people is how many years do you have to breathe in radon, and what levels do you breathe it in before you get lung cancer? And it's the same dilemma that the doctors and the scientists have over smoking cigarettes. How many years do you have to smoke, and how many cigarettes do you have to smoke before you get lung cancer? So because they can't really answer that question, the conclusion is pretty simple. Don't smoke, and don't put yourself into that risk. Now, each and every day, we ask our employees to come here. They have to report to work, and they're required to come here if they want to get paid. And so the problem is every day they come in here and they read radon. So that's one piece of the issue, the radon issue. And our numbers, because it wasn't just one report, it was two separate results, because when we got the results from the first radon test, there were 7 locations in the building, and the numbers were more than double than what the United States government says is what they call the action level. So what they say is if you hit 4 picocuries per liter, you must remediate. But if you go double the amount, or 8 picocuries per liter, you need to immediately retest. So because we wanted to be extra sure, because we believe taxpayer dollars are at risk and lives are at risk as well, not only did we take those 7 locations, but we tested in every location in the building. Every office, every space, we retested. All those results went to a lab, and all those results confirmed what the first test came back, which was that the numbers are significantly higher. So, at the end of the day, no, I'd be happy to meet with you, but I think you made the reports are online, and I think you can see. Yeah. Okay. See, I don't
Comment, please.
Mayor, I think I have the floor. I don't know if this is okay. So that was the first issue, was the radon. Second issue was there is no doubt that there is mold everywhere in this building. The photos show it, the tests show it. Now, the question was, geez, why didn't we get a second opinion? Well, the truth of the matter is, we hired a firm that specialized, that are experts in mold. And they came in here and they found mold all over the building. But like the radon test, we were concerned because you really should get a second opinion. And so we did. We had a firm come, and they tested the building top to bottom, same credentials. In fact, they are a national firm. They have extensive expertise in the area of mold remediation, and they found and documented mold all over the building. So that was opinion number 2 on the mold issue. Then it came down to, what do we do about the mold if we wanted to stay in the building? And so what we did is we asked contractors who are mold remediation specialists to come into the building and give us some general sense of what would it involve in order to remove this mold. And they gave us an estimate of $2 million. More importantly, what they told us was, in order to do this right, assuming we're planning to stay, and that was, and by doing it right, what they meant was remediating the radon, remediating the mold, and also, as you're doing that, there is asbestos in the building as well. Get rid of the asbestos as well. As you do that, because it involves extensive renovation and disruption, the recommendation was we shouldn't be in the building in order to do that. So that's the first question is, do you need to remediate? In other words, do you need to change a condition in the building so people don't breathe in radon, don't breathe in mold? And the answer was, across the board, you have to do something if you want the, and I don't think you would disagree with that at all. Then the next question becomes cost-benefit analysis. Do you spend money, whether it's $1, $500,000, $2 million, whatever the number is, on a building that currently doesn't meet your needs, that was built at a time where the population was roughly 10,000? And for years and years, it's been debated about, isn't it time to build a new city hall? I made it very clear at the meeting, it wasn't, for me, whether we're here, we're there, as long as the space is functional, it doesn't make a difference to me. The only thing that makes a difference to me is, in good conscience, I can't have employees sitting here every day breathing in radon and mold. It's just not something that anybody, not to mention as we talk about cost, the cost of litigation in these matters is extensive, as you know, because now that we've been noticed that we have these issues, if the employees continue in this condition, and if somebody gets sick, then we're subject ourselves to liability. The question about whether we need a city hall is a policy decision that has been debated for years and years and years, and the feeling of the council at the meeting where this was decided was, the community decided on this already. There were meetings, there was discussions, and so the decision was spend money and fix a building that already has reached its useful life, or go forward with your plans, which were 100% construction drawings and had been fully vetted by the community. And the decision was to go with plans that were fully vetted by the community, which lands were sold in order to reserve them to build a new city hall at one time. So the whole concept of, oh, well, radon is used as an excuse to build a new city hall. The truth of the matter is, for us staff, building a city hall is much more of a headache than staying here, because building a project of that size requires a tremendous amount of our energy and effort. Since that meeting, probably 80% of my time and the majority of my staff, the top directors, the directors of our departments have been working on City Hall. And so this is not an easy thing for us to do, but that's the decision that's been made. I think it's a sound decision when you look at cost-benefit analysis. And then the third piece, which was mentioned also, was there are many in this community that believe, and it certainly is a debatable point, but there are many in this community that believe that when you take a city hall with a number of employees and move them into a downtown that's been struggling, and where you have a community that believes in their downtown, revitalizing the downtown and creating, the vision for, a main street that makes a city proud, that identifies a city, that it becomes a sense of place, a place where people gather and enjoy each other's company. When you build a city hall, there is no doubt it creates a halo effect. The employees are there. It sends a message to the development community that the city is willing to invest in its own downtown. Because one of the difficult parts about economic development is if you don't have a city that's willing to invest in its own downtown, how would you expect developers to risk their own capital to invest in the downtown if you don't even believe it yourself? So that's the third piece of this puzzle here is, what does building a new city hall in a downtown do to a downtown? And many of the struggling businesses were at this meeting to support the council in the decision because they're desperate for customers. They're looking for life and hoping that they can survive a terrible economy and hoping that this city hall will be a new era of Homestead. So it's really a whole piece there's many pieces to this puzzle, and it's a holistic approach, and I'm happy to meet with you to discuss it more, but I can tell you countless hours have been spent by city staff to make sure that we did this thing right, that we got all the expert opinions, and as far as sign-offs, we have the experts that wrote the report have signed off on the report. We paid good money for these reports, and I'll be happy to
Nobody signed off.
Well, if I may, I'm not agreeing on building the visual. That's all I wanted to say. I'm not agreeing on building. I'm just talking about short term.
Mr. Mayor, we just can't have her talk. You're going to allow her to speak.
Well, I can talk from up here, and I'm going to tell you that thank you very much for coming forward. That was beautiful. And again, eloquent, very great. The problem is we're not talking about building a new city hall. We're happy. I'm happy. I voted the other night to build a new city hall. I'm worried about what we do with the existing building and what type of financial bath we take on walking out of this and leaving it the way it is versus remediation. Simple as that. So I would like to sit down with you in the next couple of days. I want to see where they signed off on these reports, because nowhere in the book that I have does it show any indication that anyone took responsibility for the report that they gave us. So show me where they did, show me where they signed off and said, company so-and-so says, here's where we're at, because that would make me feel a lot better.
Well, Julio, to the best of my knowledge, they emailed us the report and said, here's the report, right?
Correct,
From the company. So, I mean, the report came from the companies, they delivered them, and they didn't just show up, they came from the company. I don't know what more I can say beyond that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Can I have one quick comment, please?
Sure.
Thank you. We had a special call meeting that dealt with this specific issue of what we wanted to do. And that night, we gave the manager a 6-0 vote of what we wanted to do. We asked him to go out and find a space to rent or come up with the best option that he could find. And that was done by Councilman Maldonado, Councilwoman Waldman, Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick, Councilman Shelley, and Councilman Williams. So it's not the manager driving this. This council sit up here on a 6-0 vote and directed the manager and what to go do. All he's doing is following the policy that we have asked him to take forth. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Okay, I'm Ron Ellis. I'm the actual owner of Castaway Pools. I'd like to get some things clarified here. This all kind of started a while back. One of the things that were stipulated is we never had a Durham permit, which we actually, when we finally found the original permits that were on file with Durham also had the original blueprints and the layout and setup for the tank that was submitted to Durham. Because Durham basically wouldn't issue a permit until it was basically permitted with the city to have the tank in. Now, when we actually went to the city to pull our file from the city to find that variance or the permit that actually showed the building permit allowing that tank to be there, we were told by the city of Homestead that there was no records prior Hurricane Andrew. That would therefore mean that the city had failed to keep records or the records were destroyed during the storm. We were, like I said, first we were told we didn't have a Durham permit. We've spent several $1,000s with our attorney, originally found through Dade County the original permits, presented those to the city. Then I was told I didn't have the operator's permit from Homestead, which was also produced by the city, showing that we also had that. We were also told at one time that the alleyway was a road or a street. We ended up pulling the plats through our attorney, presenting them as well, showing that this has never been a road, never been a street, has always been an alleyway. Now basically we're being told that there was no variance. I would also like to clarify that that alleyway wasn't always there. Up till 5 years ago, that alleyway stopped halfway to the north. So there was a 16.5-foot clearance from our fence to the asphalt of what used to be the Greyhound station. When they continued that road down and made the swell in the sidewalk, that's what then put the road, or the alleyway I should say, abutting up to our tank. That's where I guess we're in violation at this point. But I don't know what else the city wants us to produce, because there seems to be an assault going on here about this chlorine tank back here. Now, I would like to also clarify chlorine. Chlorine is a gas. Liquid chlorine is sodium hypochlorite. If you go home and you pull a Clorox bottle and read the side of it, it's going to say sodium hypochlorite. It's the same thing as bleach. It's a stronger solution of it, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing we sanitize our water with that we drink every day. But I'm being told, oh, there's hazmat stickers. You know, I'm starting to feel like I've got a plutonium plant out behind my store here, and that, you know, I'm trying the best I can to work with the city. I'm trying the best to work with my neighbor here. But I don't know what else everybody wants me to do here. This store has been here for almost 22 years, and we've never had any issues with this up till now. Also, I'd like to clarify the fence. That's not a new fence. We replaced the plastic on the outside, and you can ask the building code inspector that came by and signed off on the permit. We never replaced any vertical poles or we dug any holes. We used the existing verticals, we replaced, or the vertical posts, we replaced the horizontal slats and the plastic on the outside to cosmetically clean it up, because the fence was 22 years old and it was, you know, it needed addressing. You're directing that at me because I'm the one that said it. Look, what concerns me is someone's going to turn that corner one night and they're going to slam into that tank and they're going to sue you and they're going to sue the city of Homestead, because there are no setbacks. You cannot even, you couldn't veer off that road 6 inches without hitting that fence. Okay. And then another 6 inches without hitting the tank. Somebody's going to be seriously hurt.
We actually have a 16-inch platform that tank sits on, a 16-inch riser.
Car jump up over that, hit that tank, and the whole tank will fall in the car, and who knows what's going to happen.
I'm not trying to play tit for tat, but we also have a preschool to the north and the south of us that their fence is literally abut up on the alleyway. And there's children that play in those fences. So, I mean, if you're going to point out the fact that I have a chlorine tank that's 2.5 feet off an alleyway, and we have 2 preschools that have yards that kids play in that are literally abutting to the alleyway.
That's why they put the fence up, and we required them to put the fence up for that safety. Simple as that.
Okay. We also took a ride by Malibu Pools. We noticed that their tank also abuts to the alleyway there. I just would like to know what I need to do.
Thank you.
To rectify this issue.
I think that George needs to take it to the next level. Simple as that. Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, Judge Cohen. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being patient, sitting there, listening to all.
No problem.
You're going to have to...
I'm having a wonderful time, actually. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
City Council, City Attorney, City Manager, Madam Clerks, residents of the City of Homestead. My name is Don Cohn, and on August 14th of this year, I was reelected as a county court judge. For those of you who may not be familiar with what happens when you run for election as election or re-election, I was up for re-election. For those of you who may not know what happens when you run for re-election or election as a county court judge, what you always have to keep in mind is it is a county-wide race from Aventura right down to Florida City to Westchester to the west and to Miami Beach to the east. So it's a county-wide race. There's two things I want to just real briefly say about that. Number one, in running for a county-wide race, you meet some absolutely wonderful people. And the City of Homestead was absolutely no exception to that rule. I met so many people from the city, and you're all wonderful. The second thing is this, and what makes running for judge so difficult is you're not allowed to say anything. Even though you can go out and politic, you can't say anything while you politic. That being said, I want to say something now, and that is this. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you all so very much. Without your support, I very well may not be standing here today as one of your county court judges. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes.
Thank you all. It's Kevin Pedersen at 29430 Southwest 172nd Avenue. That's where I reside. For about the last 4 or 5 months, I've been living at 406 Washington Avenue. Retired from the government recently, so I'm finally glad to be able to attend some of these meetings. I've wanted to do it for years, but was kind of told I had to stay away. But here I am, and it's been a very enjoyable the last few weeks that I've been allowed to come. There's a lot that I wanted to say. I didn't really want to say anything tonight, and I want to keep it short because I am short. But what I do want to say is that Mayor Bateman, I know you know Jim Atkins. He just recently passed.
I know you.
And one thing he told me before he died was one of the things he was really proud of was that I know he was like one of the first executive directors or presidents of Downtown Revitalization Committee. He was so proud
Wonderful man.
that something was finally going to happen downtown because we've been talking about it for 30 years, but we're finally going to get something done. And so I was glad to hear just a minute ago that this issue that came up wasn't about going backwards. Because as I studied in college, General Patton always said, we never die for the same land twice. We're not going to give up the same land twice. Now, I was going to say that as much time as I've spent in the government, I get discouraged with the government because I see what it can do. But as a businessman, I like making decisions and moving forward. So Borges Supermarket is gone. Those employees that were working there are gone. There's no jobs there. But let's get some jobs with some shovels going. That'd be nice. So I appreciate that. I appreciate all that you guys are doing, making decisions. I know they're not easy. And you do it. Nobody's paying you big bucks. I appreciate that, and I get it. Mr. City Manager, I don't know you personally. I've never met you. I wish I had. Maybe I'll get to know you. I do want to apologize to you. From just a taxpayer, I spend about $10,000 a year, I think, here in property taxes. I think you've been treated pretty poorly in the last couple of meetings that I've been here. And I for one, as a person, want to apologize for that for you. But thank you all for what you do.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right.
Good evening. My name is Mark Leesenberg. I own the property that the Castaway Pool Service resides in. I just wanted to bring up a few facts. First of all, the chlorine tank sits about 6 feet off of the edge of the alley. Okay. The cement slab is about 2 feet. The fence, because it has a 4-inch post, It's roughly 18 inches, and I did those measurements. I didn't just guess at them. The tank's been there, I don't want to keep repeating this over and over again, it's been there since 1991. The Accursios put it in. I'm hoping they did everything they were supposed to do. I would assume they did. You're not supposed to assume, but I bought that property in good faith, ran that company without any problems for years. Now all these issues are coming up. Well, one of my problems is when this egress from Mr. Wright's property was put in front of the tank, I didn't make a big deal about it because I was still in the building at the time, but I wasn't having any problems with Mr. Wright. Now I'm wondering, and I'd address the city manager about that, is that egress legal to come up into an alleyway?
I don't think, manager.
What we discussed at this meeting was because of the issues with Hurricane Andrew, there are plenty of files that don't exist anymore. So at face value, no, that egress doesn't look legal. And so the question was then is, do we spend a whole lot of time trying to figure out whether Mr. Wright's egress onto that alleyway is legal or not, or do we try to just figure out how to get along? Because at the end of the day, if we can walk out the room with everybody signing the paper that we've got a deal, which is what they did, let's just live and let live and move on here. And so that's exactly what we did. And I encourage both sides, look, we can spend all of our time digging through boxes and trying to figure out what's what here, but at the end of the day, the pool company's been doing business for 20-some-odd years. Mr. Wright's been doing business for a period of time. Let's just try to figure out how to get along.
And I don't, excuse me.
And so my hope is that we can live to the spirit of that agreement, and let's just move on.
And I don't have a problem with that, and I was very happy with the meeting, and I thought things were rectified, and here we are again. And the problem that I do have is, would you rather have a drop of liquid bleach fall into your water, or would you be concerned about oil, gasoline, diesel fuel? We're talking about first of all, you don't need an industrial zoning to have a chlorine tank. Okay, BU1A is fine. I can take you to 500 chlorine tanks around the state of Florida. I've looked them up. And you're getting ready to have Pinch a Penny move into Homestead. Are you going to tell them they can't have a chlorine tank? It's a hazardous material? I don't know, this is getting ridiculous.
I'd be willing to bet you that Pinch a Penny that moves in goes through way more hoops than what you have down there. They probably have a containment area built with a stem wall around it, with a liner in it, in case anything broke.
And we do too. Well, we just don't have a solid wall, but that wasn't required in 1991. Okay, do you guys want to put it in the front of my building? Are you going to allow that? No way. City of Homestead beautification. I had to bury a propane tank. What else? You're going to put my tenant out of business. And I'll tell you what,
I don't think the council has made any decisions tonight. Nobody's done anything to either side here. I think we have an agreement. I think hopefully we can just move on from here.
Okay.
And nobody's required for you to do anything additionally. And nobody's done anything different with Mr. Wright. And our intention is to just move on. And hopefully that'll be that.
And I, appreciate that.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Thanks. Okay, moving on to additions, deletions, deferrals. Do we have any additions, deletions, or deferrals?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. Presentation, customer service front lobby analysis report.
Mayor, we had discussed with the council this report that we're doing to try to improve customer service and to streamline their processes and make things better for everyone, hopefully. So Richard Vega, our director, is here to kick us off.
Okay, Richard, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have Maggie Duque here, who was the consultant that we contracted from Navigant Consulting. She's going to do a very brief PowerPoint just to go over the project when she came on board. She was the manager in charge of the project, and she worked with my staff and myself to put a very thorough project that's in front of you with timelines and discuss some of the high-level key points for you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, City Manager, and residents. Thank you for having me here. I definitely have a better appreciation for all of your work and your passion about making your city better and being here tonight. As I said, I was basically hired. First of all, I work for Navigant Consulting. Very briefly, we are an international consulting firm with about 2,400 consultants and contractors. The objective was basically, let me move this. I'm going to share briefly the objectives, the approach that was taken, and some of the key findings. The overall objective was really to look at the feasibility and how to enhance the customer experience, and what were the right steps to take with the front counter for the electric service, or actually all of the services. And maximize, of course, the capability, understanding that the city will continue to grow and taking those steps earlier. So very briefly, the scope of work that was to perform was to do a high-level analysis, not only financially, but to review all the key processes and look at the impact on the customer, from the waiting time to what the output resolving the situations. So basically, and this is just briefly here to show, when we look at customer service and customer satisfaction, we really try to look at a lot of different things, because customer satisfaction is based on customer experience, and it's not just one or two, but a compilation of all the transactions. And the only way to really ensure satisfaction is to make sure that all the different processes are strong, that there's good process indicators, and that they're streamlined, and that they meet the customer's needs. Basically, Navigant approach is a 5-phase approach, and basically we look, and it's based on quality principles and, of course, a lot of experience. But the first phase is really what is current situation, what is really happening, analysis, what are the gaps between what is expected and what's really occurring. And then, of course, the recommendations based on that analysis. And after that is implementation, how are we going to get there, an action plan. And then continuous improvement. How do we continue to improve and make sure that what was recommended is occurring. So basically, I guess you could say a lot of it is just basically back to basics, looking at indicators, tracking trends, continuing to measure. Again, the operations review looks at the process strength. Are we meeting the objectives? What are the best practices that maybe we should be replicating? What are the performance output? Sometimes our perceptions are not exactly what's happening, and so it's important to also measure. Are we being productive? Are we being efficient? Or do we have a lot of redundancy, or perhaps non-added value steps? Which is really effectiveness. How effective are the activities that are occurring? We look at tracking, again, mechanisms, and we look at, of course, budget, because in a real world, it all has to balance. Any questions? So basically then, our key recommendations, and this is just really a very brief summary. There were processes for each of these, and we documented all the high-level processes, and there was a very detailed, or a much more detailed action plan on all the steps to take. But the front counter, basically the recommendations were to leave the front counter open. All the customers that I talked to, and I must have talked to over 30 of them personally, really would like the ability to perform some of these tasks over the phone, because it's more convenient, not having to take time off from work to come do the work. So the recommendation, therefore, is to add that conveniency and improve the effectiveness and the efficiency of the care center or call center processes, and then customers will just shift and not come in person. But in the meantime, until their needs are not being met, to leave the front counter open to make sure that there's no disruption in service. Continue to work from those high-level processes, continue to document, add consistency, strengthen the organization,
And there's a series of recommendations there, as well as the voice response unit capability, so that when you're calling into the care center, it expedites the transaction. The new reconnect process, when a customer is disconnected for collection purposes, or a new customer coming into the city, requires some paperwork and office transactions, making customers have to come into the office. So the recommendations is to redesign those processes. The customers can actually perform some of the work and transactions over the phone and not be required to come in. Again, adding convenience to them. And then some supporting areas that were also identified in the action plan deal with employee accountability and empowerment, so that the employees understand what can they do, what can they not, and what they're accountable for, and of course measuring that. Communications, making sure everyone understands not only the customers of the effort that is going on, but also within in the office, and again, tracking results. And that's it, unless there are any questions.
Questions from council? What we're hoping here is, once this is implemented, assuming you don't have any disagreement with the approach, to minimize the amount of people that actually have to go into the lobby, and hopefully over time there won't be even the need for a lobby, because like many other utilities, you can do all your business over the phone or by internet, and so the Navigants have been instrumental in trying to help us re-engineer our systems to do that. And Richard has worked very closely with them, and we think we have a plan that will do that.
Thank you. Questions from council? Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Plummer.
Sorry. I just want to say thank you very much. I'd read your report extensively, and that's what our customer task force, when we first started it, that's what we were trying to accomplish. So you put the icing on the cake.
Thank you.
We came, believe it or not, we came a long ways from where we were. I mean, we were way back. But thank you very much. I thought it was excellent.
Thank you. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Richard and his group has helped quite a bit as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item is the consent agenda. Thank you, from September 19th, council presentation. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Item carries. Okay, public hearing, ordinance land use.
Yes, please be
Judicial.
Yes, please be advised the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment on any of these items, please indicate the item number you would like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff has made their presentations on each item. Swearing in, all testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to be either cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda packet on each item is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization, and further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2-591, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications they've had concerning any of the following items. Hearing none at this time, the clerk will swear in any persons who wish to testify on the following quasi-judicial items.
Would you please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me? I state your name. Hereby swear or affirm that the information I present shall be the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you. You may be seated.
First item for your consideration is tab 13. It's the final order of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting a certificate of use to allow the operation of a restaurant with on-premise sale and consumption of beer, wine, and distilled spirits located at 2580 Northeast 10th Court, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Move it. Move. Thanks. Second. Staff report.
Yes, sir. Staff recommends the council approve the attached final order granting the certificate of use. The applicant is requesting the certificate of use to sell beer, wine, and distilled spirits for on-premise consumption in conjunction with the proposed restaurant at a location in the Homestead Pavilion. The property is zoned retail commercial, or B2, and has a future land use map designation of light commercial use, both of which permit restaurants. Pursuant to the City Code Section 3-11C, we have analyzed the request for the certificate of use application and determined that the applicant demonstrates compliance with the special criteria in the code for that. So we recommend approval.
Okay. Questions from council?
Just a comment if I could.
Sure.
This is going along with many other businesses that are already in that area, so I've got no problem with this, and fully support it and want to welcome them here and hope that they do great things for the community.
Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Waller.
I just want to know when you're going to open. I've been riding by there, riding by there, riding by there.
It's beautiful inside, that's awesome.
Good enough. Good enough? Okay, because I can't wait.
You'll hear about it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final questions from council. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Councilwoman Wallman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Tab 14.
Yes, Mayor, Council, tab 14 and tab 16 are related to the same property. If we could, just as a matter of technicality, if we could take tab 16, which is the proposed future land use map amendment first before we hear the rezoning.
Okay. Sounds good.
Tab 16 is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of Professional Care, Inc. for a small-scale future land use map amendment to the comprehensive plan by changing the land use designation of 2 parcels totaling approximately 10.14 acres from low-density residential use, LRU, to light commercial use, LCU, located south of Campbell Drive, west of Southwest 147th Avenue, east of Southwest 152nd Avenue, and north of the C-103 Canal, is legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Move it.
Thank you. Second? Okay, staff report.
We recommend that the council approve the proposed ordinance requesting the small-scale comprehensive plan amendment change from low density to light commercial use. Again, this is a small-scale comp plan amendment for 2 parcels. The applicant intends to develop an assisted living facility and a nursing home complex on the undeveloped parcels upon approval of the small-scale amendment. The property currently has a future land use map designation of low-density residential and is zoned as in the agricultural district. They have concurrently filed an application requesting a zoning, rezoning to a hotel and motel and institutional district in R4 to allow the proposed assisted living facility. We'll hear that as our next item. This designation, this LCU land use map designation is implemented by B1A, B1 R4, and B2 zoning districts, and the maximum height that we say here shall not exceed 70 feet or 6 stories. Again, we recommend approval.
Okay, questions from council?
I just have another comment on
Sure.
this one. To me, it makes sense. It's sitting over there by the hospital, and most of its residents will at some point need service probably from the hospital, so it makes perfect sense to me to be over in that area, so I'll give my support to this.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions?
Comment, Mayor?
Sure, please, Ms.
I just want to say I think it's a perfect marriage for the hospital. I think it's been something that's been planned for some time, or hopefully to have been planned for some time, and I think it's going to be wonderful. I know the hospital welcomes you being there, and I think it's going to be a match made in heaven, so you have my support.
I can speak from experience, their first-class operation. Any final questions? Okay, I'll open the public hearing to the public. Any questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final questions from council. Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Warman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Tab 15.
Yes, Mayor, moving back to tab 14, the proposed rezoning. This is a first reading of ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, considering the request of Professional Care, Inc. for rezoning of 2 parcels totaling approximately 10.14 acres from Agricultural District AU to Hotel, Motel, and Institutional District R4
for property located south of Campbell Drive, west of Southwest 147th Avenue, east of Southwest 152nd Avenue, and north of the C-103 Canal as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Thank you, sir. I'll move. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Staff?
Staff recommends the council approve the proposed rezoning from AU, or agricultural, to institutional, or R4. The hotel motel district, which, an institutional district, which is R4, does permit hotels and motels, hospitals, clinics, churches, schools, daycare centers, ALFs, and community residential homes. So we recommend approval.
Thank you, sir. Questions from council?
Question, Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Maldonado.
This property was owned prior to this was it the hospital that owned the property? So was there any plans in the future to expand over there?
No.
No, they just own the property. Okay, that's it, just a question, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Bless you.
Bless you.
Final questions from council. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Mr. Shahan would like to say
Sure.
Jacob Jahan, 9540 Old Cutler Road, Coral Gables. I would like to thank all of you, the mayor, the councilors. You are going to be very proud of what we are going to do there. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir, for coming to Homestead again. Okay, we did 14.
Yes, moving on to tab 15, Mayor. Tab 15 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting a waiver of plat to Doug LLC and Charter DC Homestead LLC for the division of property totaling approximately 37.23 acres located within the Homestead Park of Commerce as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Move it.
Thank you. Second. Okay. Staff?
Staff recommends the council approve the resolution granting the waiver of plat for Doug LLC, which would allow the reconfiguration of these three parcels into two parcels on the plat. The request, again, is for a waiver of plat. It's going to change essentially the property that the school is, the site plan for the school has been on from three parcels to two parcels, and we recommend approval for that as it does meet the waiver of plat requirements set forth in our code.
Okay. Staff? Counsel on me?
Question, sir.
Yes, go
This
ahead.
is just a technicality. It's nothing that affects anything else. It's just a technicality for their property.
Just replatting, taking three parcels, making them two, no other changes to anything that's out there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Further questions? Yes,
I
Ms.
just have a
Fairclough.
quick question. I was reading in here, and it said that I guess the original plan was for 2,000 students, and now it's up to 6,000?
No, well, there's no change to any of the students with this application. This is simply a replat. There's no change to the site plan or no change to any of the school information that was provided before.
Well, it was referenced in here, so perhaps we can speak after that. I was a little concerned about that, moving from 2,000 to 6,000 students.
Applicants here.
We can follow up after the meeting, Mr. Pandey, if you want to.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Omar Armenteros. I'm here representing the owners of the property. The 2,000 student stations were approved for Phase 1,
That was the old.
and the additional 4,000 would be for Phase 2. So it's a total of 6, 2, and then 4.
Where are you getting 6,000 students from?
Well, 9th graders, right? And then the following year, 10th graders.
Again, I don't have particular information as to how that comes about, but I'm just here on the technical issue of complying with the site plan approval hearing, which required the planning.
Okay, so I'll follow up with who will have the
I
information.
have an answer for you. Back in 2011, there was a site plan for Phase A, which allowed the 2,000 students. At the same time, the applicant went through a notice of proposed change to the DRI. Ultimately, the change would allow for 6,000 students, but no site plan has been approved for Phase B of the project. So the school is going to be, the approval for the school, the Phase 1, is for the 2,000 students. The DRI now does allow for 6,000 since it was changed through us in the state back in 2011.
Okay. And this is Somerset?
Yes, ma'am.
Somerset. Okay, thank you.
Any final questions from council? I'll open the public hearing. Any questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final questions from council. Yes,
One
Mr. Burgess.
Point of clarification then, to the staff. The 6,000 number, that's a wish number from them?
It's a wish number. That's what the DRI allows.
Correct.
And
That's not set in stone.
that's not set in stone. We have a site plan
I just
approval
wanted to
for
get
phase
that out
one.
there. Thank you. Thank you.
Is this the Parker Commerce site still? Right?
Somerset.
Yeah, but Parker Commerce, so.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm at the right location. All right. Parker Commerce. Okay, final questions, council? Okay, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Maldonado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick.
Yes.
Councilman Shelley.
Yes.
Mayor Bateman.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Tab 17, an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending budgets for the city of fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2012, ending September 30th, 2013, by increasing the total budget of revenues and expenditures by $500,000, providing for a repealer, severability, and an effective date. This is first reading.
Thank you. Second. Staff?
Staff recommends the mayor and council approve the budget amendment for the new City Hall Fund in order to appropriate funds for the necessary engineering and professional services required to begin project construction.
Any questions from council? Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final questions from council. Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Wallman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick.
Yes.
Councilman Shelley.
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado.
Yes.
Mayor Bateman.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Tab 18.
Resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the building permit and related services fee schedule and providing for a fee schedule waiver for temporary banner signs associated with promotional contests for the Homestead Miami Speedway NASCAR Championship race, providing for enforcement and providing an effective date.
Move it.
Thank
Second.
you. Second, thank you. Staff?
Staff recommends that the council approve the attached resolution. This is, the background on this is pursuant to a request made by an applicant on September 19th, 2012, where the council authorized a permit fee waiver for the temporary banner signs associated with the contest, promotional contest for the NASCAR Championship race. As such, the proposed resolution authorizes the permit fee waiver and also amends the current building permit and related services fee schedule to provide for and reference no charge for such permits and waivers.
Okay, thank you, sir. Questions from council?
Question?
Yes,
This
Mr. Maldonado.
Came from Speedway themselves, or this is another?
This came from an applicant, Doris Mensis, who came here on behalf of her organization who wanted to run the promotion.
Just want to ask. Thank you.
It was offered by Mr. Williams and seconded by me. Okay, any final questions from council? I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final questions from council. Madam Clerk?
Vice Mayor Burgess.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick.
Yes.
Councilman Shelley.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallman.
Yes.
Mayor Bateman.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Tab 19.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, accepting proposal and approving work authorization for work associated with the additional engineering and architectural services for the new City Hall project between the city and Rodriguez Quiroga Architects Charter pursuant to continuing contract awarded under RFQ 2403, providing an effective date.
Move it.
Move it.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. Thank you, staff.
On May 15, 2006, council approved an agreement between the city and Rodriguez and Quiroga Architects Charter for professional services in connection with the new City Hall project. On October 3, 2012, council provided direction to staff to prepare plans and contract documents required for the procurement process for the construction of the new City Hall. The work under this proposal includes architectural services for the solicitation of the City Hall project, Staff recommends Mayor and Council approve the proposal submitted by Rodriguez and Quiroga Architects, chartered for engineering professional services for the new City Hall project. The proposal will render the required services for the basic bidding phase at a cost of $68,250 and additional services as deemed necessary, code modifications for the design plans, permitting, etc., at a cost not to exceed $75,000.
Okay, questions from council? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final questions from council. Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Tab 20.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, code designating Southwest 1st Street between Southwest Chrome Avenue and Southwest 2nd Avenue as Sergeant Tony
Koga.
Koga Street in honor of the City of Homestead Police Officer Tony Koga, providing for implementation, providing for an effective date.
Okay, move it.
Move it.
Thank you. Second. Thank you, staff.
Sergeant Tony Koga began his career as a police officer with the City of Homestead on August 4th, 1983. He was severely injured in the line of duty 4 years later. On March 8th, 2011, Sergeant Tony Koga passed away as a result of the injuries sustained in the car crash 24 years earlier. This resolution is designed to honor the memory of an officer fallen in the line of duty. The signs would be provided by Miami-Dade County. The cost of the signs would be approximately $1,000. Funding for this project would be handled by the Police Department. Staff's recommendation is Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution for the renaming of Southwest 1st Street to Sergeant Tony Koga 3rd Street.
Thank you, sir. Questions from council?
And just a comment, sir.
Sure, please.
You and I were both there as we presented the family with the street sign and had some copies made for them and forwarded to them, and they were very honored and very appreciative of the City of Homestead and its officials and its police department and all that they did for Sergeant Koga back in that day, and Manny Figueroa, I don't know if he's still here, he was here earlier, but thank you to him for all that he did, because he's the one that brought this to our attention and got the ball rolling for everybody down here to pay this man the due respect that he should have been given. So I know that the family will be very appreciative. They were then, and I'm sure they will be today. So thank you.
Thank you. And I think we made it very clear, too, that from here on out, we hope we have no more. But if we do, that we'll continue to name the streets after fallen police officers. Any final questions from council? I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final questions from council. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, business from the city manager. No business? Okay, business from city attorney. Okay, Councilwoman Wallman. Yes.
2 years ago, I worked with a group of veterans on a project called Reefs Across America. And last year, for whatever reason, we weren't able to do it, but this year, it's the time of year again. And for those of you who don't know what this program is, during the course of the next 2 months, we will be requesting donations to purchase a live reef for $15. It's only $15, and they're nice size. And these will be placed on the graves of American veterans at Woodlawn Cemetery in South Dade. And the ceremony will be on December 15th, in time, of course, for the Christmas season. This is a worldwide event with other groups participating in all 50 states and in several other countries where American veterans are buried. The public is encouraged to come out and help us lay the wreaths during the ceremony. Last time we had over 600 wreaths placed, one being on my dad's grave, which he was 100% disabled Navy veteran. Excuse me, that building. Sorry. Not to make light of this, but times are really tight, and I know maybe $15 might be hard for you, but even if you don't have a loved one who's passed away, I would appreciate it if you think about donating a $15 wreath to a veteran's grave. Also, I will be going out there on Sunday. Veterans Day is on Sunday, right? I think.
No, Monday.
Monday?
It's usually a Monday.
It's the 11th, whatever the 11th is. So it's on Sunday. So I'll be going out to the cemetery on Veterans Day at 3 o'clock, and I'm going to have flags. And I encourage each and every one of you to come out and help me, my council as well, place flags on all the veterans' graves. I do that myself. I do that anyway. But this year, I've been encouraged to make it bigger because it seems like every time I think I have enough little flags, I don't have enough flags. And between my husband and our grandchildren, we spend hours out there because you have to read. I mean, it's so fascinating how many people who are buried in that cemetery that have nothing on their graves, nothing ever, ever, ever. So 3 o'clock on Veterans Day, meet me out there, and $15 donations. I also want to tell you a little bit about our Halloween event. It's going to be October 31st, 6:30 to 9:30, over here at Harris Field, and we're going to have everything. Dennis's crew has just really stepped up to the game, and haunted house, food trucks, hay rides, trunk or treat, everything, all kinds of rides, music, and we're going to have costume contests. So, and it's all free, right, Dennis? It's all free, and congratulations on a good job that you're doing. You always do a great job.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And next, the Atala Montessori School, they're going to have their 3rd annual chili cook-off and silent auction, and that's on October 26th from 5 to 8 p.m. And now, you see us with pink on. Pink, pink, pink. This is October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I wish it could be every month of the year because it's not just October that we want to remind people to have their mammograms. Believe you me, if I hadn't had my mammogram when I did, I would have been stage 4. And as it was, and I tell the story in the News Leader on Friday, there's going to be an article, and I saw Mike Dill earlier, but I want to thank him because every year they do a special, are you there, Michael? Where? Oh, gosh, you're so tall, I shouldn't see you. But I want to thank Michael because every year they do a special on, my article is this Friday, and it's my story, and it was really hard for me to write it. Some of you know it very well. When I was first diagnosed, I had to make a decision as to whether or not to go public with it or whether or not to just keep it to myself. And when you sit up here and you're an elected official and you're a public servant, it's hard to keep things to yourself because people find out. So my husband and I, we decided to make it public, and it was truly a 5-year struggle for me. But if I can save one life by talking about it, and I know some of y'all probably get sick and tired of hearing me say it, but if I can save just one life, by reminding you to get your checkup, then it's all worth it to me. So I wish that we could have Pink Friday every Friday, maybe once a month, hint, hint. But I want to thank all of you for wearing your wristbands and just taking it out there. And Chief, you wear that pink really lovely. So thank you, and God bless, and get your mammogram. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Patricia Fairclough.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I had the opportunity to meet our mayor's youth council last night. We had a meet and greet at the Homestead Community Center. It's a very elite, talented group of individuals, and I can't wait to present them to you at our next council meeting where they will be sworn in by our very own Mayor Bateman. In addition to that, I would just like to mention that this upcoming election, Miami-Dade County Public Schools will ask county voters to invest with the issuance of a $1.2 billion general obligation bond, and this is to renovate facilities, upgrade technology, and enhance facility safety. I am not advocating for or against the bond. I just would like to encourage all of you to read up on the bond, educate yourselves on the positives or the negatives, if you feel that there are, about this bond at bondsforschools.dadeschools.net. If approved, several of our schools in this community stand to benefit from it, one being West Homestead Elementary, Camel Drive Elementary, and the other schools within the city of Homestead. So I encourage you to read up on the bond and make sure you vote on November, 6th? November 6th? And I believe it's 222 on the ballot.
It is.
222? 222 on the ballot. And lastly, I just would like to thank Councilwoman Judy Wallman for her passion for breast cancer awareness. You have been very consistent with highlighting breast cancer awareness and sharing your personal story. So I'd like to thank you for that, and I wore this pink for you. And I also like to compliment Mr. Kevin Sullivan. You look really nice in that pink shirt over there. I have nothing further.
Thank you. Councilman Shelley. Okay. Councilman Williams.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just a few things. As you know, the Southwest Advisory Board and the Community Relation Board started the planning process for the Martin Luther King breakfast, and the meeting dates are October 18th, 2012, November 1st, November 15th, December 6th, December 13th, and January 3rd, and January the 15th, 2013. And I just want to encourage those persons who are interested to come out. The meetings will be at Michael Williams on those dates, I think at 5:30. So we want to make sure that we acknowledge that and let the public know they can come out and participate in the planning. That's it for the Martin Luther King breakfast. Quick question, this is for the city manager. A couple of weeks ago, we received some information about the bowling alley and about the company that withdrew their proposal. Is there any other viable candidates out there to come back for the bowling alley? Or
We have had our economic development manager talking to interested parties. We had one that we met with, I guess, last week. And we have another one that's on my schedule, I think, this week.
Okay.
And what I suggested to them is if they have a proposal, submit it, and then you guys can deal with it however you want to deal with it.
Okay. All right. The other question that I have, and I don't know if this may be for the manager or not, but I know a couple weeks ago, I received an email from the, I guess to all of us, from the mayor about these mayor council assignments with the employees. I know we talked about that in the past, but where are we today with that as it relates to how they're structured, who they report to? Could you give me an update on that, George, as it relates to that?
By charter, they report to me. Traditionally, because they're your assistants, we've had a fairly hands-off approach to the actual supervision of them. But in terms of the formal structure, nothing really has changed.
Okay. And then they're under your budget as the manager, or they're under whose budget?
They're in the mayor council's.
You're in our budget.
They're
That's
in
why
our
I
budget.
brought it up.
Okay. Okay. So where do we go? How do we, if they're already under us anyway, and supervisory capacity, how do we work that? If I have a problem with one, and who I come talk to you about the problem, George.
Yes.
And then even though they work for us, according to the charter.
That's the charter.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
So can I tag in on that?
Sure.
I think if you look at what I was suggesting to all of us to consider, because we're going to look at charter review, and charter review is going to start at the first of the year. And I asked council, all of us, to look at the charter for the next 2 holiday months, November and December. And we'll go into a full charter review on the entire charter. At that time, this can be looked at. If it's the council's wishes, those people can be transferred to under us with a charter change, of course.
That charter change could either happen through special election, correct? And/or at the next up-and-coming election. Because I think it's very difficult for a person to work for you, take that direction, but really answer to somebody else when it comes down to the end of the day. So I don't know how you feel about it.
No, I have some strong views on it, but as it relates to, some of the workload and that there's a fair process by which they serve all of us, and I wanted to bring that up because I have a little issue with how it's being reported, and basically if anybody falls short on any kind of the projects that we have, then I may feel they need to be written up because they dropped the ball on some of my projects. And as an elected official, I need to be able to have knowledge that we have the capable staff that will be able to handle it. And so that's my whole question in bringing it up.
So you felt the recommendation was...
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it, and I think that by they already being under us in our budget, I guess we need to look at that as it relates to that charter.
Okay.
That's all I have, ma'am.
While we're under your business, I see that there's an appointment to the SWAC.
No.
Octavia?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No.
Okay.
No.
I just somewhere wrote it on mine.
Yeah. No, not yet.
Okay, Councilman Maldonado.
The reason I say not yet, I've not vetted that person. I don't know who that person is. I've not seen him beat up anything on it.
They put it on there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. A few items that I have here. First, I'd like to let the public know that our next Education Committee meeting will be held on the 25th, which is the last Thursday of this month. And our Education Committee meetings are held at the last Thursday of each month. So if you'd like to attend and know what we're working on, please join us. Second, we're going alongside with, October and breast cancer awareness, and of course, my personal connection to it. I have been appointed the chair of the Relay for Life for the Homestead Committee as the advocacy chair. Basically, with this committee, I'll be working on plans and implementations on year-round integrations of the American Cancer Society advocacy agenda and legislative priorities into Relay for Life events and activities. So I will be the legislative voice for the Homestead Committee, and I will be visiting our residents and businesses in the area and asking everyone to sign up with a $10 donation. They're able to get information from the American Cancer Society, and this money, these $10, go to the American Cancer Society to continue to fund their legislative items and agendas. And so you will be seeing me knocking at the door with a slip in my hand. You know what that is. So just want to let everyone know that I'll be out there working with Homestead Relay for Life. And the last bit of business I have is that I just want to give an update to the city and to the manager and this council that recently I was invited through a foundation that's a trust foundation that's working with the nonprofits here in the local nonprofits in Homestead, Florida City. We have a trust foundation that's coming from upstate that is looking to give money to nonprofits and work with nonprofits here in the Florida City community. As I've been working with them, we realized the relationship between Homestead and Florida City, and asked me if I could work on a crucial point for those for this foundation, which is transportation. So I took the initiative to start asking. I spoke with Julio Brea, just reference to what our situation is with our trolley system. I also spoke to Mayor Wallace and asked him, why doesn't he have a trolley system? And so started asking questions. And so Julio and myself, we'd like to bring up to this council an up-to-date what we're working on, and hopefully get support of this council to make sure that to see if we could get like an interlocal agreement with Florida City on a transportation system. that's going to help the communities, both Homestead and Florida City. So I don't know if, Julio, you want to maybe share a few items that we kind of went over and then see how we bring it to the council and how we make it work.
Sure, no problem. As I mentioned in the meeting that we had last week, we're expecting by the end of this year to get 4 trolleys from the county contract that we signed several years ago. They're almost completed. They're on the final stages of manufacturing. So they've said that by the end of this year, every city should be getting their trolleys. So we have 4 that are coming to the city now. That would mean that we would like to have, of course, 1 always on standby in case something breaks down, but it would leave us with 3 trolleys that we could use on our current routes or future routes if we wanted to. That would mean that we could possibly go to a 3rd route since we have 3 trolleys now. We currently have 2 routes, and this additional trolley would allow us to add a route if we wanted to. So if we were going to do some sort of route that would be shared city or will cross the borders, the way the PTP funding works, we would need to enter into an interlocal agreement with the city, the adjoining city, or however many cities are working together, because in some cases there's more than one. And actually the CITT, which is a governing agency that runs the half-penny sales tax funding, encourages cities to basically cross their borders, not just be within their city limits. So it's really, we will be able to do it if that's the will of the council, and we can move forward with it if we get the okay from the council. But basically that would work.
So what I like to do is, what I'll be doing is bringing it to the manager and to, have him bring it forward to the council and see if it's something that this council would like to do, and working with our sister city. I mean, they encourage basically working with sister cities to get a trolley system, and I think, unfortunately that Florida City doesn't have the ability, maybe, and I'm not sure exactly the reason why, but they're unable to get the trolley system. So, if we could work with them, we're going to help our community and bringing them across. We'd like to get the citizens from Florida City to come over to Homestead, use our trolley system, shop in our area. So there's a lot of benefits in this, and I think it was discussed in the past, so we're just going to bring it back up and for consideration. So I just hope that after the city manager gets it, to bring it to the council, and then we'll go from there. And that's it for me.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to, earlier this evening when we did our presentations, several of our officers couldn't make it here tonight. Detective Morales, who's the president of FOP, wasn't able to make it, so he's here now off over surveillance or whatever. I'd like to tell in front of everybody, thank you. The Pets Trust, they gave the building, let the Pets Trust come down here and do a spay and neuter clinic one day, and it's because of that, they're good things that 35 animals, including 2 of the mayors, that were neutered or spayed that day, and that's what they're working for. So with the help of communities and things like that, it's a plus. So they weren't here to receive their certificate earlier, so I want to say thank you to them. And I also want to remind people to vote. We've got a big ballot with a lot of questions on there, and like Patricia Faircloth McCormick said earlier, 222, no matter which way you go, everybody needs to educate themselves on it, because before you just go out there and circle the dot, I think you need to educate, and that's a very important one. And I had the pleasure of listening to Dr. Carvalho, as did Councilman Maldonado, at a conference we attended several weeks ago, and he's very passionate about it and puts out a very good fight for why he thinks it would be helpful and working so well for our schools down here. And then the other one would be Initiative 240, which is the Pets Trust, who are people that have stood at our podium many times and have begged for help. So I'm not asking you to vote either way. I'm just asking you to educate yourself on what they are asking you for. And now to our staff here, if I could. Several weeks or a month or so ago, I asked about boxes and getting some legislation to take care of these, or ordinance to take care of these donation boxes that we see that are being put out by for-profit organizations on the most part, and they're starting to really accumulate in numbers. And then I also asked us to make sure we reached out to Goodwill and we were good neighbors to them, as they are a donation, not-for-profit organization that many people in our area use. And I just wondered if I could get an update from myself, for the council, and the residents who are tired of seeing these unsightly boxes.
We've reached out to Goodwill. We had an item ready for this agenda, and we pulled it the last minute because we found it was a little confusing. And so we're working out that confusion, and we'll have it on for the next agenda.
Okay. A quick question, because it came up tonight and I haven't heard anything. Where do we stand in the lease agreement to move people out of City Hall? Where are we at? Are we getting close? Are we not getting close? Or are we...
Very close. We were hoping to have it for this meeting. A few nits and gnats left, and we may ask for a special call next week, but we should have a better idea in the next day or two, but we're almost done.
Okay, thank you. And last of all, I'd like to agree with Mr. Pedersen, who came up here earlier. You've been treated badly at some of these meetings, and I want you to know that you've got 100% of my support, you and your staff. There's not one person that I don't think isn't doing a superb job for the city, from you all the way down to wherever the lowest ranking employee may be. And I want to thank you for all that you're doing.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Can I just chime in with Councilman Burgess on an earlier announcement? When he was talking about some of the legislative items, just so the information would know, We Care South Dade is going to do an understanding the amendments for the November ballot. It's going to be Thursday, October 25th here at Homestead City Hall. So if you want to come and find out about what's on the ballot, have a discussion on it with our organization here in Homestead, you could join it. It's free, and it's going to be good. It's sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Florida. We Care South Dade in the city of Homestead. So that's October 25th, and that's kind of just bouncing off of what the councilman had here.
Mr. Williams, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to regain the floor. But I forget, I had some questions because in the mail I received something about the 7-Eleven in my area. Where are we at with that business coming to my district, to the city of Homestead? I'm just a little confused about some of the paperwork that's inside. So basically, in layman terms, what is the problem?
The 7-Eleven has not completed a full application yet. When they do, we're going to bring them to the Planning and Zoning Board for review. At this point in time, they are asking for something that we're, as staff, unwilling to support. They're asking for to place the buildings in a different location than the code says, and asking for to extend a non-conforming use about 300%, and asking for a parking variance of about 100%. And when that application is complete, we'll bring it to the Planning and Zoning Board to let them weigh in on an approval or denial.
So, in other words, you're saying they want to do some drastic moves to the building in order to... What are you saying? You're saying what? You're saying that they have an incomplete application. How long have they been going through the process?
I can't get into the details about the project, but essentially...
That's what the attorney just told you? I'm asking a question because if you can't get in details about the project, then you shouldn't send out the memo to me and with the packet of information. Then I'm asking a question because I want to know. I'm getting asked questions that I don't have an answer to. So I'm trying to have the best way to explain it to me so that I understand. When you said that they have a non-complete application, how long have they been going through the process?
Been going through the process for about a year.
Okay.
And if I could, I think the reason we sent the packet out was because there was a speaker at the meeting that referenced their issue, and so we thought it was important for you to have the information in terms of what the problems were and basically outlining the steps that staff has been taking to try to get them to submit a complete packet, including the problem that their architect at the time had an expired license. So we just need the packet completed, and then ultimately it's a policy decision. The staff doesn't agree with what they're doing there. On the other hand, it's certainly within your right to grant them what they're asking for. So as soon as the packet is complete, they've been told specifically what they need and to submit, and so far they haven't done that.
Well, I guess what I'm ultimately saying is that our process by which I think we go about should be a little more seamless and a little bit more helpful. And I don't know where we go from there. I'm just concerned because the project has been going on for quite some time. I think it's been going on for more than a year, from my understanding of it. And so I want to get clarity on how do we help them get through the hoops that they have to jump through so my community can get a 7-Eleven. That's all I want. I want a 7-Eleven there. And I want it there because it's going to help the community, and whatever we have to do to aid and assist them, I think we should be trying to do that, especially when they're saying they want to come on the west side of town into the southwest community.
Sure. They've been told what they need to submit. They have not submitted it, and as soon as they submit it, the process moves forward. We've had meetings with them, Joe's met with them. I don't think, Joe, do you have an explanation as to what the items are or why they're not submitting them?
I have no idea why they're not submitting them. We've gone over with the applicant the provisions of the code. We've held the Development Review Committee meeting, made several comments. They've addressed most of those comments. There are just, we need a signed and sealed set of plans, and we'll be ready to go for the next, the Planning and Zoning Board meeting.
So
It hasn't come in yet.
The problem is that even when somebody says, look, we just want the council to decide, we can't provide the council with documents that are not signed and sealed by a licensed architect. And so there's certain basic minimum requirements that are part of the application process that we have an obligation to ensure before legislative action is taken. And this is one of those cases, unfortunately. And to the staff's credit, we have a whole series of emails trying to move this thing along, but if they don't submit what they're supposed to submit, we don't really know what more we can do.
I'm going to be honest with you, because that's not the story, and that's not what I'm getting. And whatever we need to do to ensure that the process is a little bit more simpler, and project's been going on for a while, and I believe it's been more than a year. I'm just looking for some solutions so that we can continue to build on the economy, and that the area might still become viable. And so I don't know, as it relates to how simple I can get at my request to make sure that we do what we should do and what we can to make sure that they succeed.
If they don't submit plans that are signed and sealed by an architect, I can't.
But from my understanding, they have corrected that issue. But okay, I'm not going to go back and forth.
Then why do we take their money then? Why do we take over 110? Why do they spend over $110,000? 7 months later, we tell them, guess what? You don't have a current architect.
In fairness to the staff, the memo was multi-pages, and they're happy to go through the report with you once they get the file, but they don't have the file here. But the process was fairly extensive, and I know what they're saying, but then I also know what the staff provided.
Don't take their money.
The emails that they provided, and what they're saying and what the emails and the documents that we have are different from what they're saying. And
Don't
the
take
truth
their
of the
money.
matter is the staff has followed what they're supposed to be doing, and the applicant is not. And if a person spends a year and a half or 2 years not submitting what they're supposed to submit, then it really isn't the staff's fault that they haven't submitted it. And so the facts are the facts, and the file is there, and we're happy to go through the file with all of it if you'd like.
Okay. But they've paid fees though already for the process.
Yes, they have, and I think if we have the opportunity to explain, the staff really work with them to try to. The staff could have shut them down right from the beginning.
And they should have.
Well, okay, and if that's the case, we're happy to shift gears. The direction was try to be as business friendly as possible.
8 months later.
Well, they don't submit the plans, Mayor. I really don't know.
Look, I went through the whole process with both of you, and I disagree with you 100%. Simple as that.
And I'll tell you the truth. The only reason we follow the rules is because they're your rules. And as soon as you'd like to change those rules, it makes life easier for us. You don't want us to verify plans. We don't have to. You change the rules, we're happy to follow with whatever direction you give. But once you give the rules, we follow the rules until the rules change. And the ones that change the rules are you. And it really isn't anything to do with us not wanting a 7-Eleven or wanting a 7-Eleven.
Well, hold on, wait a minute. I don't want you to come at me. I'm not barking at you. What I'm asking is a process by which communication channels are open. So let me say that first of all, because I sense something different in your defensive mode of protecting your integrity of what you're trying to do. I'm simply asking, based on what was given to me, clarity on what I received in the document. So that's all I'm asking. So I don't want you to get defensive with me now, because I'm not triggering you to be defensive to me, or what I'm trying to say.
My apologies.
Yeah.
My point was that.
Because I'm not against you.
Yeah,
I'm for you.
But my point is that if I can't help that a year went by if the applicant didn't submit what they're saying, and I don't think it's fair for the staff to be blamed for a year's worth of process when they didn't follow the rules. And I didn't mean to be defensive to say that if some or all of you don't like those rules, we're happy to change the rules.
Yeah.
We really are.
Yeah, I think in your statement, what you said, I didn't like your statement, but that's you're your own man. I'm just saying, direct that to where it needs to be directed to, because I'm not the one to. I support you in your efforts of what you do. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Okay, any final questions before? And I too wore my pink tonight for you and for you.
Thank you, sir.
I thank you for picking up the whole Together for Life and what you're doing, because I know it's tough and painful for you, and I'm with you, and whatever you need, feel free to ask.
Thank you.
We all seem to be venting tonight, so I'm going to vent for our last meeting that took place, with 3 individuals who came up to offer us suggestions. And I want you to know, I tell everyone, you got a complaint, you got a compliment, come to a council meeting, because 7 of us are here. There are 7 elected officials here that can freely talk, and this is the venue. That podium is the venue to come up in a somewhat constructive manner. Voices raised, voices lower, doesn't bother me. But that is your place to say what you want to say. And we seem to get upset when citizens come to that podium and say what's on their mind. So upset that one of our users, one of our customers, received a phone call from 2 council people and a city manager the very next day. I don't think that that's very fair. I don't think you should call anyone the next day and give them a hard time about anything, because it's tough to get to that podium. It's tough to stand up there and say what you really feel, what you feel has been done to you. So if we're going to continue to look for our citizens to come to that podium and talk and say what's on their mind, for God's sakes, we certainly can't call them the next day and give them a hard time in any way, shape, or form. I think it's wrong, and there are many times that you've come up there and things weren't just right, but we listen, and that's what it's for. This is not a bully pulpit, and that's not a bully pulpit. We're here to listen and to feedback, back and forth good feedback. That's what strengthens a community. That's what strengthens a relationship. And you've brought some great things forward. The sidewalks were phenomenal. Great stuff that we put us in gear. But we can't continue to do this. We've got to allow people, within reason, to say what's on their mind. Whether they're taxpayers or not, they're spending money in our city. They're buying permits, they're building buildings, and we need to allow them to do that freely. This is, a democracy here, and that's what it's all about. Motion to adjourn?
I move it.
Second.